Ghana to the land of Canada. Oh my God. He one time wanted to be the chairman of the NPP. He stepped down. For some reasons, we still are yet to know. He is also a man who is the president, oh my God, of an ethnic group right here in Ghana. We shall find out which ethnic group that is. And above all, he's a great son of the land. My guest in the studio is Honorable Joseph Ayikoi Otoo. Honorable, you're welcome into the studio. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you, except that I like to be called Ayikoi Otoo more than Joseph.
What happened to the Joseph? You don't like it anymore?
No, you are doing African things, not
beautiful.
I want more of us to be doing African.
Oh my God. Am I not excited to hear this? Did you just hear that? So you see, when I tell you to drop all the Josephs and all the Jonathans and all the Francises and all that, this is one of the biggest reasons. You're welcome one more time.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I would like you to walk me through your childhood. When were you born? Where were you born? To which parents? What did they do for a living? Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. Because they bring back memories, especially when I think of my mom. You know, it brings back Mokola as it used to be before. Mokola was inhabited by many Kadangbe women who did wonderful things, you know, trade in all sorts of things, and were able to look after their children. And then we had the unfortunate situation of Kalabuleism and the people believing where that logic came from. Nobody understands that it is Mokola as a market which is causing the trouble.
Wow.
And not the people in. So they went and demolished Mokola.
Yeah, they did.
You know, and people lost their jobs, you know. Those who had stores close to Mokola, for example, you know, soldiers went got people to line up, and they sold whatever it is that they had at ridiculously low prices. And my mom lost a lot and had to come home. My mother, you call Emilia Coco Mensa, or Mrs. Emilia Coco Otoo. And as I said, was a Mokola woman. She was more literate in Ga language, taught us to read Ga, had many Ga books at home.
Wow.
And that was how I became Obonu lawyer and was able to translate the English into Ga for a very long time.
Wow.
You know, my father was a Beza with Ebenezer Secondary School. I was reputed to be a co-founder because the founder, Robert Tekwayi, happens to be his uncle. And the two of them, you know, joined hands to start Ebenezer Secondary School and went on to become the Beza, the chief executive, some administrative class holdings until, unfortunately, died in 1974 at the age of 55.
Wow, that was the year I was born.
At the age of 55. It was very religious. It was a society steward of Mamplubi Methodist, a class leader, a choir master, and all that. When we were young, we could go carry the organ from the church to the house, and a few people will come assist, and then we take it back, you know, when they need it in the church, and when they finished, they brought it home and all that. So it was a sighty man. And also in the church was what they call a local preacher. You know, so you could see him will leave for work, and then maybe by 12 o'clock, will come quickly, change himself, and take his Bible and hymn book.
Wow.
And they are going for burial service and the rest, you know. So it was a good man, and unfortunately, he died young.
He died so young, 55. How many children did he have?
Only 4.
Were you the first, second, third, or fourth?
Third out of 4.
Third out of 4.
But my mom had, you know, these Mokola women, because they control the cash, they didn't care too much about, getting husbands. So if you want to disturb them, they ask you to go away.
Oh, wow.
So she married 3.
Wow.
And our father was the last to have married. And so we had a family of 9. And I was the 8th child.
Interesting.
The 8th child. But the last born died, and I became literally the last.
The last. Oh, I see. So when were you born?
Well, in August of 1954. So yesterday I went for a lab test, and I saw the guy wrote 68 years, 7 months. When I saw the call, I said, oh, 68 years, 7 months. So I'm 68 years, 7 months.
7 months. Interesting.
I think I was born, I grew up in Mamplobi generally, so I don't recall growing up in Accra Central. So I would say that perhaps I was more of a Mamplobi because I grew up. When I became conscious of myself, we were living in Mamplobi. I don't know whether you know Mamplobi.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
The estates, yeah. And from there, we moved to Latabi Okoshin and continued there to another house in Latabi Okoshin until 2005 when I left for Spintex Road. So I now live on a Spintex Road.
Spintex Road.
It's
Wow.
all thanks to the old lady because she was controlling the cash.
Wow.
And I was a darling boy. She would do anything I ask, she would do anything I ask. And in fact, when I was at the university, I would come home every Friday. She would put money into my pocket.
Wow.
And buy me the things I would need for the week.
Wow.
So every Friday, although we were giving, I think, 21 cedis a week, I was going for my money regularly from my mother.
Oh, you were getting money from the university?
Oh, yeah, at the university. I mean, I don't know what happened in your days, but between 76 and 79 to 81, when we were there, we were giving 21 cedis a week. That's, I think, 3 cedis a day or so.
Wow.
And it was okay. You can use it for anything.
Were you still being fed?
Yes, you use it to buy coupons, and then you could go to the dining and take your meal, or what we call the central cafeteria. If that's what you want to do, you can also go to central cafeteria and have your meal. Of course, there were those ruffians who would want to go to what they call the bush canteen.
The bush canteen, yes.
After they have gone to do their own thing, they will go to bush canteen, and you see them. Some of them will tell you they are interested in the Kokonte, face the wall. Troublesome guys.
All right, so you would not say that you were actually born into a poor home. It was a well-to-do family.
No. We had very good family. My mother's father, the grandfather was a very rich individual in Accra.
Wow.
Who was named Kwakunyami Alute.
Wow.
And it's on record that he sprinkled money, coins every Wednesday.
Wow.
And so it became a tradition in our house
to sprinkle money every Wednesday.
No, that was what he did. But after his death, any big occasion like a wedding, like a funeral, you see us sprinkling cash.
Wow.
So we and my mother was okay. She, like I said, and so it like, build in us that compassionate spirit. Because when you can't see anybody suffering.
That's right.
All you need to do is rush to my mom and say, look, man, just give me something. Or even the pieces of clothes that they used to sell, we just gave it to people who couldn't.
Have you continued in the tradition of sprinkling and spraying money?
That is
personally.
When there is an occasion,
you do that.
The way we remember, we always sprinkle. Unless we forget. And if someone remembers in the family, say, hey, and then they start throwing.
This is 3FM.
We were not like to talk about poor. No, my mother left 3 houses. I had abandoned where I used to be from 205. The top floor is still sitting there. I used the ground floor for my chambers, and I abandoned the top floor. It's just sitting there. I have moved into my own, premises. So again, she was a CPP woman, very active because of uncle Tawia Adamafiu. Our name would have been Adamafiu if we were male. But because we came from the female line, and our mothers and grandmothers were married by others, we tended to use their names.
Okay.
But those who remain the male line of Adamafiu used to be Adams, then changed to Adamafiu. So that was the uncle. And he was a strong CPP, who held many offices in Kwame Nkrumah's CPP.
Interesting. Now we're going to go deeper into some of these things, and I want to welcome Honorable properly, and then we'll get into that.
This is 3FM. This is 3FM.
My guest in the studio is Ayikoi Otoo. Oh my God, and we're having a very interesting conversation. Now, at what point did you decide that you wanted to be a politician?
Well, this thing we talk about drafting people into politics. Let me say that, I'm a lawyer by profession, and I had served as president of the Greater Accra Bar, and that is the largest bar, if you care to know. And I also served as the national secretary of the bar. It was when I left, that I was then first appointed onto this Briscoe. There was problem with Briscoe and then the Sabbath Motors. Sabbath Motors were having their problems, and then a committee was set up. At the end of the day, they recommended the setting up of an interim management team.
Right.
And that was when Kufuor, for the first time, put me on the interim management team with Ajiri Branksy, Morrison, and others. It was a small group, and we managed the affairs for some time. That was my first brush, as it were, And thereafter, I was again appointed Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Did you become an NPP person in default, or you intentionally belong to that tradition?
Oh, I told you what happened to my mom, Jerry Rollins, and so there's no way I could have had anything to do with NDC. Although I was in the chambers with my cousin, Neo Kanja Adamafiu, a well-known NDC guy.
Yes.
We had no problem. He was doing his NDC, I was doing my MPP. So I've been MPP through and through. But in our time, we used to say that we want to be the voice of the voiceless. I don't know whether you have that experience, but as National Secretary, in my time, from about 1996 to about 2001, we used to issue quite regularly statements about, human rights violations, by the PNDC in those days. But when it even became NDC and all that, when they transitioned into NDC, we were constantly issuing statements against, government. So I was more active. So while there were calls for me to contest elections, I said no. I didn't want to, because we had defined ourselves as the voice of the voiceless, and we would just, there's one I do remember clearly where some chimpanzees were to be resettled in Ghana.
Wow.
And we thought it was not the best. And we issued a statement. Following, the government said it's not taking any a firm decision. You know.
What year was this? Chimpanzees?
It should be, as I said, between 1996 and 2001.
They were bringing chimpanzees from where to resettle here?
I've forgotten. They wanted to bring chimpanzees to resettle in Ghana. And people were not happy with it. And nobody would speak. And Bar Association, we were always issuing statements. I think there was one they went to Mokola and the rest, battle ready, and military guys went and molested the people we called to condemn. We were constantly issuing statements, you know. So I was, as it were, in the public eye. As National Secretary of the Bar, I went, you know, unopposed conservatively. So at the end of it, I was sitting my somewhere when I was, you know, immediately, you know, called upon to, you know, act as become the minister. So I was active, but because of my role in the Bar Association, we decided not to come forward, stay behind, and help the voiceless people by issuing statements on their behalf.
Two very quick questions. Why were you not happy about the chimpanzees? You don't like animals?
No, people, there was, you know, you it's like I used to say, every politics has, every election has its own dynamics. You want to look at what is happening before you start making promises. So we will look at the general sentiments, you know, that people are not happy with what is happening and they want somebody to talk, and I will talk. But if you go back, because as I said, I cannot recall.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to push it. I was going to ask, I mean, what is it about chimpanzees that people would not want, I mean, them in this country from another country?
There was something specifically about it.
Okay.
We're being shifted from somewhere which maybe the people didn't like, and they should have allowed them to stay. And then forcibly, some group, it was not Ghana, it's a group that is pushing and wanting to bring them to come and settle there. We said, no, they let them stay where they are or something like that. You know, it's just one of that.
Okay.
We issued quite a number of statements that had to do with. Why I remember this clearly was that one of our seniors and lecturer, Fuichi Kata, but we had caught one. They said, hey, Ayikoi Otoo on chimpanzees.
This is 3FM.
And that made a lot of, you know, it made me to recollect all the time that particular incident. But there were quite a number of statements that were issued in those days.
I'm going to be asking you about your, colleague whose name you just mentioned, Fuichi Kata. Recently, he turned down some awards. I know the president was going to give him some awards, and he turned down that. He said he doesn't want to be awarded. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, it happened to me first because when I was Attorney General, I was constituting the boards, you know, under the Office of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General. And so I put him on one board. I think the Council Law Reform Commission, you know, and he called me politely to turn it down.
Wow.
So I am not surprised. I don't know why. I have not studied it. I read it on social media, you know. But I haven't had time. I've been busy myself.
You've been busy.
I haven't really had time to see why. But I can assure you that this is not the first time. When I was Attorney General, I proposed him, nominated him, a member of the Law Reform Commission, you know, and he turned it down.
So it means he didn't do it for political considerations.
I wouldn't know. You know, his brother is more Chachu. Fui is different from Chachu.
Yes, that's true.
The Chachu is more in the realm of, you know, NDC, Kojochi Kata group, you know. He's more friendly with NDCs. I don't know about Fui on the quiet, what he does, you know, but Fui is a little laid back.
Okay.
So I wouldn't know. I don't know. I don't know what reason.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. All right. Is it the Rawlings factor that made you become an NPP person?
Not necessarily. Well, of course. I mean, the treatment he meted out to my mother and other Mokola women, you know. And today, you see, people talk as if the people of Gadangme extraction have done nothing. No, but we were controlling Mokola before he went and demolished it. And since then, our people have not found their
Who controls it now?
Well, it was turned into a car park, and then they were, sent to the other side they call Mokola number 2. Unfortunately, the prices for stalls, at which the stalls were going were beyond the reach of most of them. And I think the same thing is happening to Salaga Market, which is also, not the best of shape. Right? So it's unfortunate. So that was bad. I mean, his human rights record, was totally abysmal. I mean, we look, I had just been called to the bar, I think in November of 1981, when in December he struck. So we lived through up to 1993.
Hillary Mann's regime.
Up to 1993 when they transitioned into NDC. And we saw everything that was happening.
Was it
we
terrible?
We were compelled to go through, what do you call it, curfew. I mean, they kept shifting the time. At a point, it was only 6 p.m., then 8 p.m., and things like they kept relaxing it. And it was terrible. People were just, military people took laws into their own hands, whipping people, putting things in anywhere they wanted, all kinds of things.
Would you say he was the worst president we had in this country?
No. In terms of presidency, exactly, we are talking about human rights record.
Was he a good president?
His human rights record was bad. He realized the need to work on the economy, and of course, what he did, which was good for him, was that Rawlings did not use full military men to rule. Almost all his secretaries and were civilians. So, of course, you can have disgruntled civilians from the other side who will join you, and it was almost like a collision because he had CPP, had the MPP, had PPP in those days, not NPP, but PPP. He got all people, on his side, and they advised him, so he changed his record. He became more democratic, getting to the end, but we are talking of what his own
revolution did.
DF Annan called blood and thunder politics.
Wow.
It was blood and thunder politics. People were getting missing. People were being shot. People were being lined up and shot for just having gone to take bank loan. No, it was worse. I mean, that period, there's nothing to compare with.
Was that the worst time in Ghana?
Could be, because he stayed for a long time.
Yes, he did.
People would come, misbehave, hand over, and go. But he stayed on.
Talking about the
almost
military.
20 years.
Talking about the military, we just saw the military invade Ashaiman and beat up people and all that. Did it remind you of the revolution?
Of course, I mean, all those who had lived through Rawlings' era and seen some of these things thoroughly, condemned it, because were there those who, at the end of the day, got the suspects? It was the police who went and did their work quietly. And they still got it. But this was just molestation for nothing.
Wow.
And as of yesterday, we're told one lost his life as a result of what they did, So those days, it will remind you exactly of those days. Press-ups, push-ups, jumping up and down, holding your ears, being flogged, using canes, belts, all sorts of things. It was just around. The people being asked to lie on the ground and roll in mud. Exactly were those things that they did.
Wow.
And so it is condemnable. Because that did not lead to solve the problem at all. At the end of the day, the police did it. So why didn't they? Of course, some, they were not justifying, but some have said that, once one of their number is missing, they should go look for him. By looking for him, they have ways of looking. Is it by molesting the people that you get your man or body?
What did happen in the days of Rawlings? We said that Rawlings was a bad man. Now that is happening in the days of Nana Akufo-Addo, would you say that is the behavior of the military or the leader? I'm talking about the president.
Well, The military has their own culture and their training, and because I mean, most of these young men, where they born, those doing these things are very small boys. It reminded me one day I was driving, a police officer stopped me. I said, why? Don't you know me? He said, I don't. They asked him in the years so how are you? Say, I was in primary school.
Wow.
I said, yes. So these are very, very young guys, but then you see the culture. That's the kind of training they know, And it's not not in Accra. You remember in the northern parts, somewhere pushed into gutters, and these molestations go on. So it's really more of a culture.
It's more of a culture
of the people. And now more, after some, I must say that they've opened up a bit, issuing statements. They became very active during this constitutional era period, where their PROs will come out, issue a statement, explain what has happened. Even in this case, they apologize. And from what happened, what I've read, they even went and gave money to their family who lost, and they held, I think, an open forum to discuss the issues, and to build good relationships.
Interesting.
So it's all good when you have a constitutional rule, because there they know they will be attacked. At least if nothing at all, the civil society organizations, will come on them.
Right.
And you can't keep quiet. Then they, by extension, make sure that they draw in the president, who they call the commander-in-chief. Charlie, you have to do something.
Yes.
We know head your voice. So,
Yes.
so, but in a military rule, who are you? You can't even speak.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
you
yes.
can't.
Yes.
That's what we call the culture of silence.
That's right.
What are you going to say?
My guest is Ayikoi Otoo. He's a renowned son of the land. He rose all the way to becoming the Attorney General of this great country called Ghana. He also became the ambassador of Ghana to Canada. After having risen to all these higher heights, why did you want to become a chairman of a small political party like the MPP?
Oh, it wasn't my idea at all. The one who was gunning for this position was the late Ishmael Ashite. He was former Greater Accra regional minister, former minister for the fisheries, in charge of fisheries and things like that. So when he died, we had to set up a committee, a funeral committee, to plan it, because we were expecting the president and other dignitaries to be there. It was in the course of it that they decided to organize 1 week, which was even not a Gadangwe thing, But we said, well, if what they do is for people to come and pledge and to give monies, why not? So we can raise funds. So we did that one. It was there that after I had attended, that some people came and said, look, why don't you rather take up the mantle? Or we think you even maybe weightier than him, but he was going forward. And we used to be a Ghana thing. We had the Odoi Sykes, we had the Ubeche Bilamte, we had Peter Lajit.
Right.
It used to be. So why not, if you would want to take it up? So I said, look, you need to look at timing. Timing is also necessary. People started this thing long ago, and you need funds, to do your campaign and all that. So I am not that interested. No, maybe it's when you come out, when you show your face, when you announce, then you see those who would come. But I believe it was a little too late, So even when I announced, it did not catch the fire that I was. In terms of finance, not in terms of those who think I'm the man for the job. Because they ask you, why did it take you so
long to come out?
Why did it take you so long? I said, it's a shite thing, and the shite people are forcing. So after some time, I realized that, look, it's a complete waste of time.
Okay.
So why don't you just step down? Because to go all out, and then really, I've never seen a leader without followers before.
Wow.
There may be some followers who would still want to come and vote for you. And if you go getting lotto numbers, what will end that? What would that do to you?
That's
it
a
will
very-
spoil your reputation.
That's
you
a
know.
very honest one. I like
So
it.
I said, no, I won't.
But you didn't care about the fact that you had risen to the position of the Attorney General and you wanted to be the chairman of a political party.
But which party put me there? Have you forgotten that it is?
It's the
was a
NPP,
party-
yes.
Yeah. So as a party in power, that put me there. So the chairman is very powerful.
So are you saying that the
There are
president...
even members of cabinet. I don't know whether you are aware. The chairman and the secretary are members of cabinet.
So the president of Ghana was put there by the NPP. So
Yes.
if he decides to come back and be the chairman of the party, you think that would sound good?
I don't think it would think about it. It's like I once contested to be president of the Ghana Bar Association and I lost. Then I was made Attorney General. I had gone a notch higher
Wow.
than that office.
Interesting.
There was no way I could. People came talking to me. You have come back. We think you have the balls.
Wow.
You can talk to the.
I like that. You
Chief
had the
Ju-
what?
You can talk to Chief Justice.
This
You can
is
get
3FM.
what we want as a bar.
Wow.
So we want you to come and lead. I said, no. The Attorney General becomes what we call the official leader of the bar.
Interesting.
Once the president of the bar says, it's only the president of the bar association. So I won't do it. It is so I don't expect a president, a former president to come back and say, but it is a very powerful office.
Why are you throwing your weight behind Alan Chermating? Is he the man for the job?
Well, as you well know, we've had a tradition where there are always front runners. So we had Kufuor. No, sorry. Yes, we had Adubayin and Kufuor. Adubayin went and Kufuor came. Then we had Nana Akufo-Addo, who was challenging seriously Kufuor. Kufuor went. At the end of the day, it was Nana who came. And then the last example will be the Nana and Alan. And Nana was unable to get 50% to go beyond the 50%. But Alan stood down for him.
Wow.
That we don't want a second round.
I remember that.
Take it. You are my senior brother.
Interesting.
When your time is over, I'll come. So looking at the tradition, I don't know what you will say. It's only fair that it has reached him.
Would you look at the tradition rather than the achievement?
What do you mean by achievement?
The vice president, I mean, digitalization of the whole of Ghana, being part of one district, one factory, gold for oil and all that. Is that not a strong achievement to say, well, Alan, let's put tradition aside and let the vice president take it?
So who says Alan cannot do all the things that you are referring to?
Interesting.
And was he not part of it? Was he not a cabinet minister?
But why is Nana Akufo-Addo supporting him, though?
Supporting who?
Supporting his vice president. I mean, as we are hearing from guttural sources, the vineyard.
So how would I know? I don't know.
Okay. So you don't suspect that the president is leaning a little bit towards his vice president to be the flag bearer?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm suspecting or not suspecting. We are all old enough, to see things, So form your own opinion.
Form your own opinion.
But to ask me why, I will not be able to say.
Being a stalwart of this wonderful party called the NPP, you rose all the way to becoming the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. What a feat. We all were looking forward to you becoming the Speaker of Parliament. What happened to that?
Well, it is said that God's time is the best. Maybe that was not the time for me. It came up, it was discussed, but what I also was hearing somewhere was that, looking at this, hung parliament of 137 or 137, 137, maybe somebody who has been there before, could continue, and build on his experience. That is my understanding. So why don't we play him once again?
Okay.
And unfortunately, he
lost.
At the end of which people say, if we had brought you, baby. So,
are you interested in still becoming the Speaker of Parliament?
Well, it's in line with what I do, honestly. It's a lawyer's job. If you wouldn't mind, you see that quite a number of people who have been speakers have been either justices or justices or even lawyers. So it's in line with what I do.
That's right.
So it's not something that I would find it difficult doing. I mean, you are giving rulings, people are raising objections, moving motions, and the rest, being conversant with constitutional provisions, especially dealing with Parliament, and being conversant with parliamentary procedures, standing orders of Parliament, and the rest, So for me, it is in line with what I do. And
this is 3FM.
Naturally.
Interesting.
As far as I'm concerned.
Interesting.
It doesn't mean that I can also not become president or even a vice president.
Are you interested in becoming president?
Of course. I mean, if you have the wherewithal to do things. It's like when people ask about why has politics become a case for older people. It's all about money. It's all about finances. You cannot do without it. And it's not because you are going to bribe someone, but because you need it in order to. It's the oil, for your campaign.
So if you have money, you should be president. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, most people who can do it are those who either can raise it or have it.
It's not about the intellect. It's not about your skills, your leadership skills.
You are even diverting the attention. That is not the issue. I'm saying that without finances, you cannot run a presidential campaign.
Oh, okay. All right.
Without finances. So either you have it or you raise it. And if people like you, they will come on board.
I get it.
They would support you.
That's right.
Because you look, traveling the whole of Ghana, can you imagine? And going with an entourage, and because the roads are bad, you have to look for V8s.
Yes.
Sleeping and at places, spending time with the people. My brother.
Giving money to people on campaign trails and all that.
Young men cannot do it. Yeah. I'm saying even if you leave out the money that you give to people, and let's think of planning your route, what you need to go to do your campaign. Look, you need T-shirts.
Doesn't mean young men
paraphernalia. You need T-shirts. You need caps. You need to mount a stage.
Yes.
You need to do a float.
And young men don't have money
flags.
for that.
You need flags. How can they? Unless you are able, I've given you only two. Either you have it yourself or you can raise it. If you can raise, why not? Come.
And young men don't have that.
No.
They don't have it.
They can't. It's not easy to raise.
So that is why young men in Ghana cannot run for president.
Not only in Ghana. It's happening. What is the age of them?
They don't have the money and they can't raise it.
Nigeria?
Interesting.
How old? All those who run.
Well, Peter Obi is not. Anyway, I mean, talking about rulings and all that. Admiral Anas was in court with Kennedy Japan. And a number of Ghanaians think that the ruling didn't go too well. I mean, you are, a senior legal person. Tell me, what do you think about that ruling?
Well, you see, first of all, as a lawyer, before you can seriously comment on a judge's ruling or judgment, you ought to have read it thoroughly. It's on social media. I've been busy, so I haven't had time really to read the full judgment. But you defame somebody when you bring his reputation,
into disrepute. Yes, right.
I mean, all of you are taught media law, so these things are not new to you,
right?
So if you are able to show that the words he used, even if they are veiled, were understood, to be referable to you, And for the ordinary man in the street, you know, it lowered you in that estimation of the ordinary man. Then you have made your point. But then you have the defenses of justification, you know, and public or fair comment. If they are also able, the defense is able to put that one. After all, practice of law only means the art of persuasion. How do you persuade a judge to rule in your favor? Like I did for Sir John and Opsi Adoye, and to persuade the panel there that this is not a case for which you have to put somebody, you know, in prison. You can impose a fine and the purpose will still have been served and the rest. So if they were able to convince the judge that there was justification for what they did, and it was also fair comment, and the judge buys into it, so be it. If you are not satisfied with the judgment, what do? You go on appeal.
Well, Ken said that Anas is a murderer. He's responsible for murdering about 20 Chinese people, and also JB Dankwa, the former NP, and all that. And so many people have been wondering, how was Kennedy Japan able to convince this judge to give him judgment for such utterances that he made?
You see, you need the whole gamut. The evidence that was given in court, the analysis of the evidence, the inferences that the judge drew from the facts that were laid before him. Because some have also cited examples where people actually corrupted, if you like, the crusader himself by giving him monies. And these went into, you know, the record, and they were before the judge. That somebody gave 700,000 or 100,000 or so and so, and they were left off the hook and the rest. So where is the reputation which is to...
What do you think about Anas's work? Do you see it as investigative journalism or otherwise?
Well, the Anas principle.
The Anas principle, yeah. That Nanado said he was going to use.
It's quite problematic, you see. In so many ways, it's all problematic. First of all, you can't record somebody without the person's, you know, consent.
Oh, in that case, let me just remind you that you are being recorded. We have cameras all over the studio.
So if you go and record somebody without his consent, the Supreme Court says you can't use it in the trial, you know. And therefore, most of these things are based on recordings. And they are secret recordings.
Yes.
He will not come and bring a recorder and put it down, but a pen or something that is on him. Anything, a gadget which can record, you understand. And they are all secret. So in law, you cannot use it.
Wow.
What really happened was, and I will tell you an interesting story. When the judges were lined up to go before the disciplinary committee of the Judicial Council, some of them came to me. And the first time I got to go there to see if I could defend, I was called in. I said, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I've been contacted to come and defend them. I said, but have you seen the videos? And, okay, you might have seen some of the videos, but have you heard the audios? I said, no. I said, sit down and let's play. You know, you can see the video, all right, things happening, but the words accompanying them will let you know what is happening, you know. And so at the end of the day, I said, do you think you can still defend some of them? Why don't you just, you know, walk out? And eventually I had to abandon them, you know.
Wow.
So it was treated as a separate and a distinct matter, because we all have difficulty with bribery and corruption on the bench. And therefore, if somebody had used means of getting them, let's take this opportunity to clean the system. You know, so we just close our eyes to some of these things. And look, let's get them off, because ex parte communication with somebody in the absence of the other party it's not the best.
Interesting.
And you entertain, somebody will come carrying goat and sheep and the rest.
Yeah, giving to judges.
Yeah, to come and talk to you and ask you, where is the other party? Because I've been warned, they had their own code of conduct. Ethics, what you should do and what you cannot do. So we supported it. But when it comes to, in terms of evidence, in terms of law, that practice, it is despicable. I mean, you cannot come and record me privately. And the other one is what we call entrapment.
Entrapment.
You really entrap the man by telling him stories. And, why don't you do this and we'll do this for you. And if he falls as a human being, you've got him. And not that he even initiated anything, but you moved all the way to wherever he was and then got him involved in this sort of thing. So for the bench, I will tell you, if you ask me, as a former Attorney General, leader of the bar, yes, it was a good thing to get some of them out of the system because you could hear the rumors, you knew. Because you see, the mistake they make is that the very, very clients who go and give them monies will come and tell you what they told them. Lawyer, don't go this area, go to... The man is not a lawyer and he's telling you that don't talk about this and the rest. You get a feeling that something is going on. We've gone to see the judge and things like that. We hear all these rumors and these people continue to be there to cause havoc on the bench. So if this is a way to clear them, why not?
Interesting. Well, in fact, I have so many questions to ask you. I'm enjoying this conversation. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We have only about 2 more minutes to go, unfortunately, and I'm going crazy. I'm going mad. I don't know who is on duty today in heaven. It looks like the time is running very, 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 very fast. I was going to ask you why you supported Ejapa. And at the same time, I wanted to also go ahead and ask you about this Gadangbe issue about people who are not Gans, when they die in Accra, they should not be buried. Did you ever say that?
Gadangbe, I will want to talk about it because it's dear to my heart.
Good.
And you see, this is why some people find it difficult entertaining pressmen. You see, they refuse to talk to the press. But you can't be in the public eye, be a politician, and refuse to talk to the press. So you've got to, as it were, accommodate them. I was telling him about the Gadangme lands that have been lost. Okay? That almost all the lands that they take compulsorily acquire are more often than not in Accra for development of the capital city. We grew up here. I gave you my age. There weren't
68 years, 7 months.
There weren't this, huge influx, what we call rural-urban migration. And you fault the government for that. If you give them what they want, they won't be coming. But because there is nothing there, and they see here as heavy, everybody is rushing to Accra. And therefore, it will affect the population, the people here. And then we change it and say, not only politan, but it's now cosmopolitan and, all kinds of things. So I said, look, we grew up in Mamplobi. I know Choco very well. Between the police station, Choco police station, and what we call Lante Mami, it was a beautiful scenery of coconut trees and the beach, the waves and fresh air. And if you went there in the evening, today, do you know Choco?
Very well. Very well.
Between the beach and the old Winneba Road, can you see any space?
Nothing. Everything is gone.
Has been taken up.
Yes.
I also went on to say that when we're young, anytime somebody died, you will hear that he will be taken to his village to be buried. The corpse will be taken to his village. Today, are corpses being taken to their villages?
They are buried there.
So I gave an example of how many people had come. Then a pressman goes to take pictures of tombs to say that Gadangme Council are against non-indigenous being buried. Where was that in the statement? Where did I even say so? When I was just giving an example of how we have been overwhelmed and specific instances and I said it is dear to my heart. Look, what has happened to what they call the Marine Drive? Do you know the expanse of land from behind the Black Star Square all the way to Brigade?
It's huge.
The Scouts area, Baden Power all and all that.
Huge.
Whose land is that? It's just been taken. And we are being told it's for tourism. Meanwhile, which government organization is ready to work on it? Who? Is it a government thing or is being farmed out to private individuals to go and put up their hotels and let it out and make money? What do we gain?
Your Excellency.
Taking over. Look at the community center. I'm told the equivalent is Prep Assembly Hall. What has happened? Do you know the community center? Which was built by UAC for Gadangways. What have we gotten out of that? Their language, people go and learn, Ga or Dangme to come and teach in the region where it is predominantly supposed to be spoken. And then they are posted outside.
May I interject a little bit? So do you...
We don't have any radio station. And we ask for frequencies. They tell us there are no frequencies. Meanwhile, new ones are coming up all the time.
I thought Obonu was for the...
No, Obonu is GBC.
Ah, okay.
Listen to it and you see even the adverts that they make. That it is a regional, Greater Accra Regional Obonu FM that people could go there and make all sorts. Listen to Obonu from morning to evening. Sometimes they speak Twi, sometimes they speak English, all kinds of things. And I know when it was started, it was Ivan Loko, when it was Director General of GBC, saw that the former, what we call GBC2 equipments were lying.
Okay, all right.
He said, look, why don't we use this thing for the people so we can also have some gun spoken? Why?
Would you suggest?
That was why the gun manager was very...
Yes.
When you promise him that even those who have been sent outside, you let them come. Once you get to know that, look, this is a Gadangme graduate, we will allow him to come. Where are they? Have they brought them back?
Would you suggest that when people die here, if they are not indigens, if they are not...
I'm not interested in discussing that because that was not my issue.
This is 3FM.
That was not my issue.
All right.
But that is what media people do, that they use to annoy people. And some people say, won't talk. In fact, we issued a statement. I thought about the Kayayi. That was the issue. When he called me, the first question I asked him, Accra FM, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything in this statement which you don't understand? So I beg you, we do radio, so we just want to hear your voice on why you issued it. That was why I agreed, but I was not going to talk to him. And look at his warped mind, what he wanted to do. Why is that an issue? Is that an issue? Is it not a public cemetery?
This is 3FM.
Can't anybody be buried in a public cemetery? A lawyer of my standing, a politician, why will I go and say this? I was giving you an example that, look, it has been so overwhelmed that cops are not even taking anywhere anymore. You go to anywhere I ask you, say, go and walk through Osu Cemetery and see the names you find.
Yeah, you find names.
Is it not a local thing which was made for the Osu people?
That's true.
Meanwhile, what is happening now?
It's true.
I have not said anything.
Yes.
I'm not interested in this guy. These are minor and petty issues that are...
Let's
talk about very, very serious matters affecting the Ganagbe people.
Why are you against the Kaya hostel? You don't like it?
Let me give you the background once again. This is land belonging to the Gans. Talk about Gan Manche, what we call it Gan Kole Bese Stew. Bese Stew. You might have heard about the Nanuma Kukumba route.
Yes.
There was a war there. People ran away. They ran to the south. And then Gamanche Amugi, they wanted the place. Say, look, why don't you go to Sodom and Gomorrah, which became Sodom and Gomorrah. We'll give you this place to go and stay there. The people are farmers. So they started bringing yams and became known as Konkomba Yam Market, if you remember.
Yes.
That was what it was called.
Yeah, that's true.
Then people came, and the place became what? Sodom and Gomorrah. It even affected the flow of the lagoon. And every year, during rainy season, we're going to have floods in Accra. We could not manage it. Earlier on, there was the same kind of people living there, which they called it Fadama. So they called it Old Fadama. They were all taken and resettled at another Ghana called New Fadama. Even here, what we are talking now, all the Sabolai people, the Onions and all those people, they have been resettled again at a place called what? Ajay Kotoku. Is it Asante region or Achem region or what?
Okay, so your problem is with the naming.
No, not the naming. I say another Ghana has been taken and they have been resettled. And they are now building, taking over the land. Go to Bukom, go to Choko, go to Jamestown. The people have nowhere to stay. Now, if their land was taken and for some reason you've recovered it, and these people also need land, why don't you give it to them? But now you are building permanent houses, bringing people for somewhere, encouraging more of them to come. We are saying that there's injustice because the land which is to be used to resettle, belong to us, and our people haven't got it. That is what we are talking about.
I understand you, and I thank you so much. I was going to go deeper into it to ask you if New Fadama and all the Fadamas, is it only non-Ghana people who live in there? But I'm not going to ask you that.
They've taken over because they were resettled there.
Okay, so they are not Ghans.
Fadama, old Fadama,
Ajin Kotoku and all those people, they are not Ghans.
The Ghans there have immediately been overwhelmed. I'm saying that when you go and resettle them and give them the place, say, this is your land, they're going to stay there, build, have children, and that is it.
So Sodom and Gomorrah and the rest, all those areas are not Ghans?
No.
Okay. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. In fact, you know that I wish we would do this for another 2 hours. Unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Come again. We can
please, can we do it again next Friday?
I don't know about next Friday.
All right. I'm going to get in contact with you again. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. My God. What a conversation.
This is 3FM.
I've been talking with the Honorable, in fact, His Excellency, the former Ambassador of Ghana to Canada. And of course, the wonderful former Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, Ayikoi Otoo. He's a Pan-Africanist, and you heard all that he said. My next interview is up next.